Before you drop 100 bucks on prop firm challenges, watch this. Because forex prop firms and future prop firms are two completely different games. And picking the wrong one for how you trade is the fastest way to blow your account. Here's the thing that nobody tells you when you're getting into prop firms. Everyone says just get funded. But funded on what? Forex or futures? They sound similar. Pass the challenge. Don't blow a drawdown. Keep a cut of the profit. But under the hood, the rules are completely different. The costs are different. The risks work differently. And one of them will fit better for you for trading than the others. I currently trade Forex prop firms right now. I used to do futures, but I changed. I'll explain to you why in this video. But I'm also going to give you both sides fair, the pros and the cons of each. So by end of this video, you'll actually know which one to put your money on. Let's break it down. CFDs versus real exchange. Forex trades CFDs while futures trades real exchange, CME. A CFD is a contract between you and the firm pricing partner. They are decentralized and the price can differ from broker to broker. So you never own anything. Whereas for futures, everyone sees the same price or book and volume. It's regulated and centrally cleared. No middleman setting your price. So that's one of the pros of trading futures and one of the cons of trading Forex. But one of the pros of trading Forex is that you can find risk to your control amount of risk. So usually for futures, you can only do one minis or one micro, and you can't do like a 0.5 or 0.76 or whatever. You just can't fine tune it. Whereas to Forex, where you can. It's also flexible, so it only runs 24/5, so pretty much 5 days a week. Simple entry, often one-time fee, and you don't have to pay monthly. The cons is that it's always conflicting interests. There's always hidden costs. The spreads are different. Overnight swap fees. And yeah, sometimes they could deny your payouts. So you want to read your fine print on each firms carefully and make sure you're trading which ones that fits your trading style. Futures prop firms, the pros, it's regulated market, so no one's trading against you. So you'll have data that everyone else sees. It's transparent, public book order, real volume, clean data, no swaps, and has a fixed visible commission. So that's one of the bright sides. But like I said, it's fixed contract size, so you can't really fine tune how much you want to risk. There's monthly subscription on some of these prop firms, and there's also a possible activation fee once you pass the account. There's also an active trailing drawdown on futures compared to Forex, where they don't have an active drawdown, and you could breach your account mid-trade. This is a quick comparison of the differences. I suggest if you're starting out, go with Forex. You could do a small account and you could find riskier controls, and you could trade different hours a day and simple entries too. Go with futures if you are into order flows or in volumes or levels and you want to have actual good real data to trade. It has real transparent the market, but I would also make sure your trading styles is a lot more scalp oriented, because usually futures prop firms, they don't give you a day or swing type of trades usually, because by the end of the day they close your trade if you try to swing it, whereas Forex you let it run throughout the day, but they'll just charge you a small swap fee. Go with futures if you're using order flow, volumes, or levels, and if you're scalping. So pretty much you're looking at 1 or 5 minute charts most of the time. I switched over to forex because futures didn't work the way their trading rules and risk reward didn't fit my ideal of how I trade. So that's why I switched back to forex. It's flexibility and fine risk control. That's one thing I really like. The only downside is, yes, I am playing against the broker spread and stuff, but there's a way to counter that on TradingView. There's an app for it where you can check the spread between the futures contract and the CFD, so you know the difference. Futures equal transparency and clean data, but the challenges are harder. So even though you have clean trading data and format where to trade and stuff, they make it really hard. So if you have a losing streak, you could literally blow your account within matters days or even 1 or 2 trades. So pick one and build your edge. I teach futures and forex sides. They're pretty much similar, the same thing. But I recommend doing forex just because it's more flexible. Yeah, there is a little downside to it, but it's way better than futures right now. Futures is nice for data and collecting. And if you have your own personal account, yes, I recommend trading futures than forex. But if you're doing prop firm, I recommend forex right now just because of the flexibility of the drawdown and the rule set. So you could craft your own strat without stressing. Because traders will go on losing streak. We all go on losing streak. Because for futures prop firm, there's like a thin line of trading that you pretty much have to perfect it. So in this next segment, I'll show you guys which prop firm for futures and both forexes and which one to use. All right, guys, here's our top 6 prop firms I use or used to use for both forex and futures. So I'll start off with forex first. This is FTMO. It's one of the most established prop firms for the forex industry. That's how I actually started my first prop firm or got into trading, was because of FTMO. Pretty much it made it easy, I'll say, or affordable for me to trade. Then started my own account, having thousands of dollars in capital or gains to use of my personal income. So this was probably one great starter for people who want to start trading. It has account size from 10 to over to 200K accounts. Most of the sweet spots is always at the 100K account. People usually get the 100K account. It looks like they increased their price recently, but usually whenever FTMO has on sales for 500K accounts, it's like $4.99. But other than that, yeah. So you could probably recommend 50K accounts if you guys are just starting off, which is $3.99. It's a little more expensive, but the rules and stuff are a lot better. This is for a 2-step. So you pretty much have to get 10% on the first phase of profit. Then they'll send you into the verification mode. So you have to do this again. So they reset your count. Then you have to make the 5%. Once you make the 5%, then they send you to the master account, which is where you start actually making money. So there's just a 3-step process essentially. So you have to make 10% first, then another additional 5%. Then after that, then they finally reset your account one more time, and then they'll give you the actual count. The huge downside of this is that it does take a while. So I think when you pass your first account on the 2-step to the verification stage, it'll give you your account right away. So within a day or two. But once you pass the verification, my trading partner, Mike and Profit, he just recently got a funding account from FTMO. It took about a week, I think, a week or a week and a half to get verified and sign contracts and stuff. before he could actually get a account. And usually if you play your strat like normally, or like you follow your rules and everything, or if you play your strat normally without being rushed or being aggressive, super aggressive, it could easily take you about 1-3 months before you finally get a real account or a master account for prop firms. So that's one of the downsides of trading forexes. They have the two-step thing, but the rules are super lenient. So the drawdown, the max loss is 10%. So for example, 100K, there's no intraday drawdown or trailing drawdown, so it doesn't move up whenever you earn profit. So if you're, let's say you're up 5K, it doesn't move to 95K. It will still remain at 90K. So that's one of the positive of trading a two-step account. You'll actually feel the win and loss of your trading, but it does take a while. So that's the only con of having that account. So, like I said, if you're starting off, it's probably the best because then you just can start giving yourself a little test on what kind of strategy works best for you, what kind of leeway you want to do, and you have a little more flexibility on your drawdowns and stuff. So FTMO just recently this year introduced the one-step challenges. It's kind of like what most futures traders accounts are, but it's a little better. Instead, it does have a intraday and a day drawdown, like trailing drawdown. So if you do make like, let's say $10,000 or $5,000 on a 100K account, it does go up to 95. That's your next end of day drawdown. But the plus side is that once you pass it once, you instantly get into the phase right away. So you only need to make 10% compared to 15% on the two-step. The daily loss limit's only 3%, so you can only lose up to 3 compared to the 5%. And the max loss is 10%, but that's end of day 2. Trailing draw limit. And they have a consistency rule, so you can't make more than 50%. My other firms to do after you do, let's say you max out an FTMO, or you want to find some other options other than FTMO, my next one is funding pips. Same thing. They have the same set of rules and challenges. They do not have a 200K if you try and max out, but they do have more lenient profit challenges. So you could do monthly on demand split, and you could get these challenges, but they get more expensive. They increase the price if you want to go 8%, 10%. So it's a little more nicer compared to FTMO. You need to make 8% and 5%, so only 13%. Daily loss and all that's still the same. It's cheaper than FTMO. Yeah. I think FTMO starts $3.99. This one starts at $2.99. That's a pretty good deal. For 8%, that's a pretty good deal. They also have one step, but I'm pretty sure that's the same thing. There's a drawdown. And the rules, you can only lose 6% instead of 10. And you only have 3%. So you have to make 10%, you can only lose max of 6%. So it's pretty risky. Then the zero. The 0-1 has its consistency rule, so you can only make up to 15%. So pretty much what a consistency rule is that let's say you have a 100K account. If you have a 20% consistency rule, you can only make 2K max. Or else if you go over 2K, let's say you made 3K on that trade, you can't get the payout until you make over that certain amount. So if you make, was it 20% of, so that'll be 30%. I think you have to make like 120 or something. Let me check math. Get the math right. 3, so that's 30. So yeah, you'll have to make $150,000. So you have to make an additional 5K more before you could get the payout. If you have a trade that's 3K. So that's why consistency rule kind of sucks. If you do like a instant funded, you do have to. So if there is a big day in the market where you could leave a runner and you can make $10,000, you can't get that $10,000. You will pretty much have to make that 10 more times. So you have to make over 100K to even get that. So most of the times you will just go for 2K and just take it out. So that's the downside of it. And looks like your only max loss is 5% and your daily loss is 3%. So pretty much if you have two maxed out loss days, your account's blown. And I'm pretty sure there's a target too. They don't say there's a target, but there is a target. Most of the time on a zero account, you have to make a certain threshold before they can let you withdraw. So that's the negative of having a 0-step account. So there is a consistency rule. But Funding Pips is a good firm to do. It does use MetaTrader. It's probably one of the recommended. I will not use any other ones. Just MetaTrader for your broker whenever you sign up for Funding Pips or FTMO. FTMO does just recently announce TradingView, which is a plus. It's great, so you don't have to go back and forth on two screens. It also has MetaTrader, but TradingView is pretty good on FTMO. Then the last prop firm for Forex is 5%er. That one would be your last one. If you do max out on Funding Pips or FTMO, I would recommend going for 5%ers. They're also a reliable firm. I think they've been here since 2015, just like FTMO. You can also trade on TradingView too now. So that's a plus. Oh, they also have this futures one too. So they have both. It's pretty nice. I haven't dive in, like I said. There is always a consistency rule. All the 2 steps accounts for Forex, they'll have the same rule style. So you pretty much have to make 13 to 15% overall. So 10% or 8% first step, then 5% at the end before you get funded. And then you get your refund if you do get your funded. That's a nice kick. But like I said, it does take a while. So the hypergrowth probably has the daily loss and stop levels. Yeah. I recommend just doing the 2-step if you do go for 5%er. You could also do boot camp, but that's too long. That's take too long. But like I said, they know how to edge people. I'll let you know that. They have a price range for everyone. So this is all the prop firm side for Forexes. Here's the future sides. This is one emerging futures prop firm that's pretty good. A lot of traders use this right now. It's called Lucid. Lucid's probably one of the reputable ones. You do get your account live and everything instantly once you pass. That's one thing I do like about that. But the rules and the consistency and stuff, it's really strict. So it makes it really hard to pass. So unless you're doing like super low lots and playing essentially like a Forex account, it's going to take you a while unless you want to risk, aggressively to get it right away. Like I said, one thing you do get funded right away, I think, or within a day or two. So for Lucid, I recommend you do Lucid Direct. That's what I used to do. But the consistency rules 20%. And the drawdown, you only get 3,000 per day and max is 5,000. So if you lose 5,000 and you have to make 9,000, I think on the 450K to even you get funded or to withdraw. So you can't even withdraw until you get to that step. But once you do get funded. But it costs a lot. And like I said, 20%. So if you essentially lose one or two trades of 20%, so if you do 1-on-1, you're pretty much only have one trade left or half a trade left before you blow your account. So that's the downside of futures, essentially. You really can't risk 1-to-1 on just to get the max of the payout. So you will have to like find a strat that does 2-to-1, but you will lose often. So it's like a ending rabbit hole. That's how they get you for futures, is that their consistency rules are like 20% and their drawdowns, their max loss limit, it's just so minimal compared to like forexes, like FTMO. Like that was 5,000, right? This one was, you get 10. You only get 5% of that on a 50K account. It's kind of ridiculous, you know? So yeah, so same thing if you do a flex, so you pass it. Yeah, it's cheaper. Yeah, that's one bright side of that feature. It is cheap, but cheap's not always good. So yeah, like max loss limit. Look at that. $2,000 for 150K, 4,500. So that's pretty much 9 15K, 9 10%. That's like 30%, or not 30%, 3%. So 3%. So if your account size down 3%, you pretty much blow the count. So that's not good. And yeah, consistency is 50, but you don't get no consistency once you get funded, which is nice. But that's how they get you also, is that once you get to the real account phase, you still have a buffer to make. And this still applies. So you still have 4,500. So if you cannot make that at all, you still be down. And let's say you're up $5,000 on that funding account, it goes up to that 1,500. So you still have to make the buffer. You can't even withdraw it yet until you make another additional, let's say, $1,000 or $2,000. So you have to make essentially 18,000 or $8,000 just to be safe, to even withdraw like 3,000 or $4,000. So you have that same buffer zone of 4,500. So that's one of my complaints I have for futures, is because of that. It's kind of a little dirty, because once you get your account, you should not have trailing drawdown, but you still do. So that's one thing why I really dislike futures prop firms. All of them does that. So when you get to the final stage or funding stage, you still have to make a buffer, which is ridiculous, because you shouldn't be making a buffer once you got the account. Like, why should you do that? That's insane. Whereas forex prop firms, like once you get to the final stages, you don't have that trail and drawdown anymore. I mean, if you lose 10,000, you lose 10,000, obviously. But like, if you're up 5,000, you should be up 5,000. You shouldn't be like having a drawdown, which is still $10,000 or something. So like, let's say you're up 5,000 on a forex prop firm, so you should have 15K drawdown instead of 10K still remaining. So that's my gripe on why I don't like futures. And yeah, like I said, me and Mike's been going back and forth for futures for the past years, and we switched over once FTMO provided a better solution. And it's one step. The only reason why we sway away from forexes was it was under heat with the CFDs and stuff and the U.S. government, and none of us, like U.S. resident, could do forex prop firms. But now they open back to the states. I think like last year or this year. I think sometime late last year, so we're able to do forex again. Like I said, the only downside about forex is it does take a while, but it's a lot more lenient. The rules are a little more works for you rather than against you, if you kind of get what I'm saying. But yeah, so this is another futures account, Top Step. So if you do go a future route, these are, I think, recommended by a lot of traders. It's Top Step, Lucid Trading, and Apex. Apex is kind of scummy too lately. I think I haven't heard a lot of reviews from them lately, but I used to do it too. But they used to do like a monthly payment if you don't pass it within a month. So it kind of forced you to go pass it. Their activation fees are like 20, $35 for 50K account. I remember back then. But let's see what their new ones is now. So you got a 50% consistency rule, one-time activation fee. So they removed the monthly stuff, which is good. But they have intraday drawdown. Never want to do intraday drawdown. Because let's say you're up $1,000 and let's say you didn't take the profit and it goes back down to zero, you lose. So you literally blew your account just like that. So intraday drawdown is a no-go. I would not do intraday drawdown. I will at most do a end of day drawdown. So you don't get that kind of BS going on your account. So if you do go back to break even, you don't, it doesn't stack against you. So it just ends up whatever the day is at the end of the day. You never want to go over your daily loss limit or like more than half of that. So you technically only should risk 750 per trade for one trade. So that will take you 9 trades, so 10 trades. So essentially this is the same thing as you doing a prop firm on forex. It's just with extra steps. But you can get up to 20 count. So that's one plus side of Apex. You do get up to 20 count. But same thing with all the futures, like I was mentioning. You have to make a buffer once you pass the count. Because it still have trailing drawdown, even when you got the account, the real account for it. But anyways, hope you guys liked this video. It was pretty long. I think half the time it's just me ranting why I don't like futures anymore. And I list the reason why. But other than that, hope you guys like this video. Give a like, thumbs up if you like it. And yeah, I'll check you guys out on the next one. All right, peace out.